Good morning. Today I want to make a video that's kind of deeply personal to me, and it involves drinking and my alcohol consumption. It was some thoughts that I had, some thoughts that I've been, since I started doing these recordings and these videos, I've kind of developed this, I'm developing this level of accountability within me. It's kind of like, if I'm going to talk the talk, I'm going to have to walk the walk, right? And I've been making these videos, trying to make inspiration videos and motivational videos about doing it, just getting on with your life, taking action. Take the leap, the net will appear, and all these things. And I'm realizing that I've spent the vast majority of my adult life, consuming alcohol, and not on a daily basis. I don't drink too much. I typically average 3 to 4 times a month. And I don't usually drink more than 4 or 5 beers. I mean, I'm not a big liquor drinker. I drink strong IPAs, so for sure there's that. So you don't necessarily need to consume as much. I don't like light beer. But and I drink for all the wrong reasons, of course. I drink because I'm trying to numb my anxiety and numb my pains and numb my worries, And I'm realizing that as a byproduct of that is I'm also numbing and shrinking my ambition and my drive by doing it. And I can see there, I mean, the correlation is that that's where the drinking is holding me back. Even though physically I feel great in my present health, and I don't even get hangovers anymore based on my diet and the way that I eat. Per se, I wake up the next day and I feel perfectly fine, but I'm not overcoming the mental aspect of it the way that I do physically right now, And I always thought that I would hit rock bottom at some point or have a health scare, and that would be the end of it. Been there and done that, and that didn't fucking help either, I just realized that, and I wrote this down, so I'm gonna read this. Drinking has allowed me to free myself of the mental prison of worry, while simultaneously freeing myself of the mental prison that has always been my ambitions going unfulfilled, and not having to dwell on that. There's no reason to fear failure if you never take action, because you've numbed your ambitions, and so therefore you have no accountability. And the same way that the outcome of hard work can be conceived as good luck, well, the outcome of drinking could be considered could do the opposite and can be conceived as bad luck. So, I mean, that's what I have as far as this video goes. It's just something that I want to, something that I need to change in and of myself. If I'm gonna press forward and I'm gonna change my life, and I'm going to, become a prominent voice for change and serve the world and do all these things that I've been talking about, which I truly believe I can do. And it's also something that I want to do. I want to serve the world. I've been serving my family on a very subtle, private level all my life. I've taken care of all of their wants and needs for all intents and purposes, right? The only thing that I've never been able to give up, and the only change that I've ever made for them, was to stop drinking, and that's been selfish of me. And it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to the challenge of changing. I mean, that, and even the way that it's affected my health, I've always been strong, and right now I'm the lightest I've probably been in 10 or 15 years. And I realized that I'm probably within 60 days of being in quite possibly the best shape of my life. I've got about 40 or 50 pounds worth of fat left to lose. And although that sounds like a staggering number, considering I probably already dropped about 125, 50's fucking a drop in the bucket for me, And it just needs to be this subtle change. I've always been I noticed that all the times I've ever lost weight in my life and ever have gotten in good shape, it's happened as sort of as a result of not drinking. And it didn't start off that way. It actually started as a spark, a fucking fire, something in me that something in me compelled me to just start working out. And then as a byproduct of working out, I developed this guilt and this accountability that, well, if I drink, I'm really sabotaging my progress. So then I would not drink, and that allowed me to stay on the course. And then I slip back and I gain all the weight back, and I go back to my, once a week drinking and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, I put that 130 pounds or 140 pounds or maybe even 150 pounds right back on. And, here we are. Now I'm back to a level where I'm in pretty good shape. Physically, I can walk fast again. I can breathe. I have somewhat of stamina. I've been able to work again, you know what I mean, physically, and although I'm not as strong as I once was, but I know that the next step in this process of getting in shape and getting my mind right and traveling down this course or this journey in my life of some kind of fucking greatness, the next step is going to be to quit drinking. And it's going to be a challenge because there's always going to be some shit that jumps up that makes me want to forget, or wants me to take the edge off of my worry or the worry off my anxiety. And being an entrepreneur and a business owner, although I love, doesn't help that either. You know what I mean? Because there's always stressors, there's always financial stressors, there's job stressors, there's worry that the weather's going to fuck up your addition that you're doing. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, we had flooding this last weekend that I drove by, and I made videos on Instagram about driving by the sites to make sure that everything was good. So, with that, I just kind of wanted to reach out and make a video about the realization about the way drinking has affected my life, and where I'm going to be trying to go forward. And if anybody wants to have any dialogue or discuss this with me, if we could help each other to stay motivated, let's do it. Like, subscribe, and share this with all your friends. Thank you for your time. God bless.